Class 7, welcome back to your English language class. We were learning adjectives in a previous class. Today we learn the differences between adjectives and pronouns, especially demonstrative adjective and demonstrative pronoun, possessive adjective and possessive pronoun, and the differences between interrogative adjective and interrogative pronoun. Although we have done a portion of this while we were doing pronouns, yet we'll have a quick recap of these differences. As I had explained to you earlier, an adjective, be it demonstrative, possessive or interrogative, can be easily identified because it is immediately followed by a noun. Consider these examples, students. Under adjectives, we have examples here like this boy. These are short phrases that I have written here. That car, those years, such examples. Here the words of demonstration are this, that, those, such. And we find that these words of demonstration are immediately followed by nouns like boy, car, years, example. Hence these words modify the meaning of the nouns, and so these are called demonstrative adjectives. Now coming to demonstrative pronouns, these are the boys is the first example. Here we find the word of demonstration, these, points to the boys. However, there is a verb used right after the word of demonstration, and then we have the boys or the nouns to which it points being used. Likewise, in the next sentence also, those were the years. This is not an entire sentence, it is just a phrase I've written here so that you just understand how these are used. Those were the years. Those here again is a word of demonstration pointing to the years. I'm talking about the years, right? So those points to the years, which is a noun, but those and these are used here as demonstrative pronouns pointing to the nouns used later in the sentence. We don't find the nouns used here immediately after the words of demonstration. Hence, these are clearly demonstrative pronouns. Now, moving to possessive pronouns and possessive adjectives. Possessive adjective. This is my car. This is the first example. Mr. Roy is his uncle. Again, in these sentences, we follow the same rule. We find the nouns immediately following the words of possession. Here, in the first sentence, my is the word of possession. In the second sentence, his is the word of possession, immediately followed by the noun car and by the noun uncle. Therefore, these are clearly possessive adjectives. These words qualify the nouns used after them. Now, in contrast to possessive adjectives, we have possessive pronouns. This car is mine. So, mine is the word which stands here for possession. We cannot use my ever for possessive pronoun. Children, remember this. We cannot use our. We can use ours, we can use mine, we can use his, hers, theirs. This is how we use these possessive pronouns, but we cannot say this is their house. Their can be used only as a possessive adjective but not as a possessive pronoun. Rather, we can use theirs as the possessive pronoun. So this car is mine. Mine is here the possessive pronoun. That book is his or that book is hers. These are the possessive pronouns used here, talking about possession of, in the first sentence, the possession of the car, and in the second sentence, possession of the book, that book. Clear, children? Now moving to interrogative adjectives and interrogative pronouns. Which book are you reading? Again, the same rule applies here. The words of interrogation, which or whose, are immediately followed by the nouns. colors are the nouns here. So these words add meaning to the nouns book and colors. Hence these are interrogative adjectives. Who is that dishonest boy? Who here again points to the dishonest boy, talks here about the dishonest boy. What does your father do? Question again pointing to what is the occupation of the father. These are used here as interrogative pronouns and not as interrogative adjectives. I hope this is clear to you children. Be very, keep this very clear in your mind. Otherwise you will tend to confuse between these adjectives and pronouns. Pronouns like who, whose, which and what, these are used to ask questions and these are called interrogative pronouns. But when we use these interrogative pronouns, make sure that you use verbs after the word of interrogation, and then you point out to the question is being asked to the about the noun later. These are clearly the interrogative pronouns. The formation of adjectives. Adjectives can be formed by adding prefix or suffix to the root word. So the prefixes or the suffixes that help us are like dis, dis. This is used as a prefix before the root word. U and un used before the root word. And there are a lot of suffixes that we use to the affix to the root word in order to make an adjective, like ous, able, ful, some, ish, ous, al, y, less. So these are a few examples of suffixes and prefixes that we add to the root word in order to frame adjectives. Children, you have got an exercise based on this on page 33. I urge you to do this as homework, and you can tally your answers with mine once I send you the PDF or the Word document sending you the answer key. Now moving on to order of adjectives, which is again very important. Adjectives are to be placed in a certain order in a sentence according to certain rules. We cannot place more than, you may find that sometimes in sentences there are more than one adjectives used. However, we cannot arrange these adjectives according to our whims and wishes. There is a certain order which should be followed. We'll discuss this order now. Okay, so we follow the order of Noses Comp. Noses Comp is an acronym which will help you to remember this order. Like I told you, this is used especially when we find there are more than one adjectives in a sentence. So there might be 2 adjectives, there may be 3 adjectives, there may be more or there may be less, but whenever you are asked to arrange these adjectives in a sentence, you ought to use this particular order. So when we arrange adjectives in a sentence, the first thing that we have to follow is, we have to first of all write is its number. Okay, adjectives of number. Then opinion. Then S stands for size, A for age, S for shape, C for color, O for origin, M for material and P for purpose. So there may not be all of these present in a sentence, but there may be 1 or 2 or there may be 3 or 4 even present. So you have to keep in mind this acronym so as to arrange them correctly in order. Now look at an example that I have mentioned here. My father has bought 7 little young plump white Spanish hounds. Now you won't find here all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all these 9 present. But there are at least a minimum of 6 to 7 adjectives present here. So how have we arranged it? My father has bought 7. The first is number 7. Then we have used little. Okay, what is little here, children? Little is here the size. Okay, so we do not have anything here based on opinion, so we have written the word little because we don't have here any adjective which mentions the quality. Okay, little. Next we have young. What is young? Age. Next is plump. What is plump? Shape. Then is color. White. Then is Spanish. What is Spanish? Origin, hound. Hound is the, we talk about the noun here. This is the noun which has been described here by the use of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 adjectives, and we have arranged all these adjectives in the order of the gnosis form in order to fit this right in a grammatically correct sentence. Now one more important thing to remember is never use commas after these. We cannot use commas after these because all these words here, all these adjectives here are used to describe this particular noun. So do not use comma. These are not referring to different things. These are referring to the quality of the hound. Okay, in terms of the number, the size, the shape, the age, the color, the origin. I hope this is clear to you children. You have an exercise on page 34. Let's practice. I again urge you to practice this. You already have the adjectives mentioned over here, and the options are given. You have 3 options given for each of these sentences. Go through these 3 options and write these down, or just tick these as the instruction says. Follow this particular order. Then you will be very clear with how to frame, how to write more than one adjective in a proper order in a grammatically correct sentence. Thank you so much today children. We shall meet again in the next class. Bye bye.